218 votes in the House in order to pass that. You've got 214 members in the Democratic caucus. So you only need 4 House Republicans to have to sign onto it to get this passed. But the idea of saying that this is a 3-year extension instead of a 1 or even 2-year extension has any potential Republicans saying, forget it, this is dead on arrival. That's the opinion of Representative Don Bacon. He's a Republican from Nebraska who has been working with the idea of potentially extending for 2 years. But 3 years, they say, is dead on arrival. So if this is something that you want to satiate, if you want to get done, you are going to need at least some Republicans to come over. Why not start with a 1-year extension or potentially even a 2-year extension?
Well, Leader Schumer offered a 1-year extension in the context of trying to end the Trump Republican shutdown.
Yeah, that's different. I'm talking about what you have now. Let's not go back to what's done in the past and what has not been extended. If you want to get something that has actually done, you need to do something that will have bipartisan.
You can ask me the question. You can ask me the question. I'll provide the answer.
Answer the question instead of going back.
I'll provide the answer. No. I'm providing an answer in order to provide context. Republicans have repeatedly refused to take yes for an answer. It was a very reasonable multi-year extension that was offered. It was a 1-year straight extension plus a multi-year process through a bipartisan commission to more permanently resolve the Affordable Care Act issue. So having that context is absolutely important, regardless of what you may think.
It's important context to make me realize that I don't think you want to get a deal done. I think this is something where you'd like to see the rates go higher and allow the Republicans to hang themselves with that. Is that the answer?
That's absolutely a ridiculous assertion. And really, shame on you.
3 years is not going to get passed, so what do you do?
Shame on you for saying that, because we're fighting. It's not a partisan issue for us. In fact, the states that are most impacted as it relates to an Affordable Care Act tax credit expiration are all Republican states. We're talking about West Virginia, Wyoming, Alaska, Mississippi, right? Tennessee, over and over and over again. We can go through the list. That's why you probably have some Republicans who would sign on if you guys could come up with something that actually looks like a bipartisan deal. Listen, this is not a partisan fight for us. It's a patriotic fight. We're fighting for every constituent, even if Republicans aren't necessarily fighting for their own constituent. We want to find a bipartisan path forward. And that is what we've repeatedly indicated we want to do. Like, we want to sit down and have a reasonable discussion, find common ground to address this issue. Now, Republicans said in the House they were willing to deal with the Affordable Care Act tax credit issue after the government funding agreement was reached. Well, now the government shutdown is over, and there's still been no conversations with House Republican leaders. Mike Johnson never said that. The leader never said that. You do have Republicans, though, who would agree with you on something if it was actually bipartisan in nature. That's what I'm trying to get at. Actually, Mike Johnson actually did say that there was always a plan to specifically deal with the expiration of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. In fact, he said that repeatedly. So I'm not sure what you're referencing. I think their plan is something that looks more like an HCA, which I'm guessing you would say is dead on arrival, too. If you want to set up these health care plans that are funded instead of going through the ACA, I'm assuming you would say that's dead on arrival, too, because there have been Republicans who've put that forward. Am I wrong in thinking you would not go along with that? What I'm saying is that what's in front of us is the immediate expiration of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Republicans have had all year to deal with this issue, and they've refused to do it. So they're the ones who are not interested in finding a resolution to a health care crisis that they've created, including passing a bill that enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. And because of their policies, hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers are closing throughout America, including in rural parts of the country. Which would why it would be nice to see a 1-year extension so that none of these things happen immediately and give you all time to actually try and work on bipartisan situations, rather than a 3-year extension that basically kicks it down until the next administration is here. I think both sides need to come together and find some way of getting around this. That's not necessarily saying, OK, we're going to spend $350 billion to extend these tax credits without having any way of trying to get at the real problems of what is causing higher premiums, what is causing this inflationary healthcare environment to begin with. Yeah, what's interesting is that Republicans just spent trillions of dollars to provide their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks. And in that same bill, cut Medicaid by the largest amount in the history of the country, and also ripped $186 billion in nutritional assistance away from hungry children, seniors, and veterans, the largest cut to SNAP in American history. But somehow we can't find a dime to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits even for a year, because House Republican leaders have rejected a one-year extension.
Do you think you were successful in shutting down the government? Do you think you got what you wanted?
We didn't shut the government down. Donald Trump and Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And in fact, the American people, prior to the shutdown, during the shutdown, and after the shutdown, know who was responsible for the government shutting down.